YouTube, how's it going? Yeah, so I've just woke up. I was on the phone with my girlfriend, hi Sibit, this morning, and I fell asleep afterwards and just woke up. It was like trying to get up early in the morning, which was a great plan, and it was alright for a couple of hours, and then had breakfast, and then I woke up now. So it's dark. Yeah, so today, after doing that Westbury Standard yesterday, and I looked this out because I always figured that this was very similar to it, when it's got a lot of things in common with it, but it's not really that similar a guitar. This is an ARIA Pro 2, or when I say an ARIA Pro 2, it's the ARIA Pro 2. This is a prototype. Well, prototype series, not actually, you get people saying, oh, it's a prototype. Well, it sort of is, because these guitars were called the prototype series. They came out in about 77, 78, something like that, and this is just at the end of the copy era, where all the Japanese guitars were all copies of Telecasters, very much like the one that you can't quite see there because it's just to the right on the SG, the Antoria, that kind of thing. And then there was a bit of a groundbreaking thing happened about 77, 78 or something like that, when Ibanez came out with their artist guitars and the Iceman, well, it wasn't called the Iceman back then, like original designs. So instead of copying the Americans, the Japanese decided they were going to try and outdo them. So this was ARIA's attempt at their electric guitar. It's a prototype. As far as I'm aware, this is the first original shape ARIA of the modern era. Called the prototype. This is a PE600. So this is I think this is the cheapest one in the range. It was a 600, an 800, a 1000, and a 1500. The 1500 was not entirely dissimilar. It had binding on it and stuff like that. DiMarzio pickups, and it really fancy. They were called the Masterpiece series. Masterpiece, and if you look up on the internet, you'll find there's an advert for the ARIA Masterpiece or whatever it was called, and it's like it's just described in its own one page magazine advert as the Stradivarius of electric guitars. So aiming quite high. The 1000 was the same as the 1500, apart from it didn't have the DiMarzio pickups. The 800 is very similar to this, but with binding, and then you get this, which is the 600, which has got a sycamore body, which I find quite interesting anyway. The way you can tell these expensive, or the older ARIA Pros, I see there's writing on the headstock, which you can maybe just make out there, this writing. Later on, ARIAs have writing up here, but that writing says something about using select tone woods from a specification or something like that. This one has, I'll just read it out. Designed and approved by H.noble. That's H.noble there. Original custom body, patent number, product of Matsumoku. So it's a Matsumoku built guitar. And the patent number, which is referred to on this, is this neck join. So it's a set neck. You can see it's kind of scooped, and the neck kind of comes in here somewhere. This guitar was very, 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 or still is very, very beat up, but I polished it like mad to try and make it a little bit more shiny. But you can look at the gouges and stuff on it. This is a poly finish, so that's all proper wear. These are not the original knobs. The original knobs look mental, and you can't get them. I'm surprised that you can't buy. I think if this guitar was a bit more popular, there were more of them, someone would have worked out how to 3D print these knobs, and then folk like me would buy them instantly. So you can see it's got like when you're looking below it, it's like recessed round about the knob. Mr. Noble himself told me that the reason for doing that, I'll put it so it's at 10 at the right bit. It's because it was quite common if you put like electric guitar knobs into like just a thin piece of wood on the top, they snap. Whereas this way, there's much less wood for it to snap. So if you often see it in especially guitars in this sort of era, where they've been repaired because the guitar's been dropped on the knob or whatever, and it's actually snapped, cracked the surface at the top of the guitar. So that's why they do that. It's also a carved top. That was why I thought it was done, to make it sit level, but no, apparently it's because so there's less thin wood round about it, so it's less likely to break. Obviously a more expensive way of doing things. It's got the H.noble bridge, which is a bit of a mad design I've never really seen anywhere else before. I always thought that there was something wrong with it because it sits at an angle like that, but I'm not 100% sure it's not meant to. So the posts seem to be perfectly vertical. It's like, I got this guitar a few years ago, and actually I just messed about with it there. I had to raise the action a good bit. I had the action down so low you could play it by, you know, blowing on it. I've raised it up to a more reasonable action now. Yeah, so as I said, the prototype series got a massive bullet truss rod as well, which again I'm pretty sure I thought was broken when I first got it, but it's meant to look like that. The prototype series, they still make it, and they have done all the way through it. So if you look at any ARIAs from even the 80s, they made one that was sort of like this, but it had more of a sort of tune-o-matic-y type bridge. And then in the 90s, I think you can still buy them in their sort of cheaper, but I assume made in China, Korea, guitars that are still roughly this shape. They don't have this. This is called people call this a Batman or a Batwing headstock. It's kind of like a pointy thing on it, which isn't quite what the later ARIAs look like. It's got like sort of devil horns on it. Yeah, and my pal Wayne is. He's actually. I was on the phone to him 2 seconds ago, and I said I've got to go. I've got to do a video. Try and get it out tonight, seeing as it's now where I'm now pushing it for time. So this might not be a very long video, even though I've already talked for 6 minutes, not played a chord. So this video might be up a little bit later. Try and put it out at 7 o'clock, but it'll be round about then. So there'll be no editing and stuff in this one. It'll just be straight up. Yeah, so they still make this in Japan, or not this model, but they still make this rough design shape. And because my pal Wayne is an ARIA dealer, he's got a wee shop in Colville called Karma Guitars, or Guitar Karma. Look it up. He's on Facebook, and he's an ARIA dealer. And if you look in their catalogue, it's like $3,500 for the modern one of these. And the reason you don't see them is because I think once you start getting up to that sort of price, people don't want a guitar that's not a Gibson Les Paul or a Fender Stratocaster. So I don't know how many of them they actually sell. So I mean, what I'm saying is you still do get really high end ARIA Pros. It's just we don't see very many of them. You might have to order it. Pickups are unknown. Look a bit like they're interesting pickups. They are definitely original though. They're kind of strange looking. Actually, someone was telling me the other day there was a problem with it. If you want cream pickups, some manufacturers, I think it might have been Josie Warman, they're not allowed to make cream pickups. It's like DiMarzio hold the patent for the colour, apparently, because DiMarzios were always cream, and all of these are, although they're not DiMarzios, they're kind of aimed at them, and they're not copies, but you know what I mean. It doesn't have the it's actually got domed pole pieces, which stick out a fair bit, which I've not actually seen before either. Crazy guitar. So the only thing really wrong with this one, apart from it being beat up, the bridge I'm still not 100% sure of, but I don't see why it wouldn't work just because it's sitting at that angle. As soon as you see that, you just think of a Floyd Rose that isn't set up right, or a Strat thing that's not set up right. This is just a hardtail, so I'm not sure it's meant to be flat. I kind of want it to be, rather than built up like that, but I don't think it's burst. And the volume knob's really stiff. In fact, it's not, actually, since I've been playing it today, it's not actually that stiff, it's just a little bit stiff. Yeah, so bridge pickup, as I was saying, this has got a 3-piece neck on it. This guy, H.noble, who's described here, it says a lot of these Japanese people have they choose an English name to do with, so that they're easier to write down. That's the chap there. He's still going. He's still a mad inventor type dude. Called Atlansia Guitars. So if you look them up on Facebook, I wonder if I can. Can I just if I close that, does it just disappear? There. Do I want to try and pronounce that? I hope I'm not offending anyone. It looks like his name is Magaro Hayashi, or something like that. But it's well worth looking him up on Facebook and liking his page, because he does crazy looking things. He's done because he's like a mad inventor. It's like he does these mad headstocks that have got like the tuners all in line, and crazy looking bridges and pickups that are sort of circular, and one for each string, and proper crazy stuff. I wouldn't say they were. No, they're beautiful in their own right, but they don't look standardy guitars. They look like something that's been invented in space. and I'd imagine they're fantastic. So he worked at ARIA Pro as a head designer at one point. So just using the Lady VC15 and the 3x12 cabinet. There's no pedals on, but I'll probably stomp on one once I get going. And these strings are elixirs, but probably approaching 10 years old or something like that. Which means they still play, but they'll not be at their full whack. It's playing so much better since I raised the action up. Give it a quick wee go with the fast fret. I recommend getting some of this stuff. I think I recommend it quite a lot. I recommend it so much you should probably just give me. I should probably just contact them. Is it Jim Dunlop that make it? GHS make it. But in saying that, why would I want another one? Because this thing lasts forever. I've had this for about 10 years, so I didn't even buy it. I think I found it in a guitar case. Great stuff. It's just like a well, this is an old one, so it's like a wooden thing with this impregnated block on it, and it's just like a sort of oily, greasy stuff that just makes the strings a little bit slippier, which is I'll put it in all my guitars. It feels strange when they're not there, and when it's not there. I think it might stop them rusting a little bit, but I mean it's also really good for if you've got really old strings and you want to make them feel less bad. So that's it, just bridge pickup. Using my Joyo US Dream pedal for a bit more distortion, bridge pickup. Got a really good guitar. So this is kind of when I got this I thought it was going to be a bit more like a Les Paul. It's not really a Les Paul, it's sort of Les Paul shaped. It does have the carved top. As you can see, it's thinner, it's lighter, it's got the sort of contours on it. It's kind of what PRS are. It's sort of a Les Paul Strat. It's kind of a bit of both. So it's got the 25-inch Fender scale. It's got the humbuckers. And it's sort of thinner and quite. It's a very comfortable guitar. I can see why they were quite confident that this was going to be a monster. Actually, the reason I bought this guitar is because I was in the Barras a good few years ago now, and I saw a bass version of this hanging up. It needed set up, and I got it for an absolute song of a guy called Jim who works just down below the big Barras sign. If the Barras is still there, I don't know. And I got it for an absolute song, and I was sitting there looking at it and going, oh, that's quite interesting. It's like, oh, can I maybe see that? I was thinking at the time I was vaguely aware that that might be a Japanese one. I've heard Japanese guitars are really good, and maybe I've heard of Matsumoku, and because it actually says the designed at Matsumoku in the headstock, I knew what it was. Also, the bass is a through neck. It's this shape of the P bass pickup, and it's a through neck. It's a PB1500, so it's the top of the range one. Even though I'm not sure there was any others in the PB range, I think there is only one bass that's like this. And because it was the ARIA Pro, I bought it. I think I even haggled with it, and I ran to the bank, got money, and my thinking was that even if I didn't like it, you don't get very many Les Paul basses, so I'd probably be able to double my money on it anyway, just because it's a Les Paul bass. And it turned out awesome, and then I was on the hunt for the PB1500, the PE for Prototype Electric. I actually just thought that there, that's probably what it is, and the PB is the prototype bass. Yep, that makes sense. Although later on they became something else. I think they're still called PE. But there is brochures for this available from late on in the 70s. Fantastic guitar. The bass is a through neck, and I thought, I'll get the PB1500s. PB1500s go for like £1,000. I think they are through neck, but they don't have they've got like a carved maple top on the top, so you can't see that it's through neck. So that was why I figured, because it didn't look exactly the same as the bass, I didn't need to get the 1500, so I got the first one that came up, actually, the cheapest one. This one, it looks much, much better than I did when I got it, just by virtue of it being so polished up now. So this isn't through neck, this is this patent thing. Also, the other thing is the patent number. I looked it up, and the patent number is for this neck join, and this patent number is on the head of the bass, and the bass is a through neck. So it's like, also I think the 1500's got a carved back, so this has got like a flat back. It does have some, it's got some contours in it, and that's just a piece of wood that someone's put in. That's not original. Whereas the bass has got like a carved back as well. I think the PE 1500 has got a carved back as well, and maybe the 1000. Yeah. So I was just going to have a jam. Yeah, I think I'll just have to have a jam. I've got a couple of guitars there I want to talk about, but I'll talk about them tomorrow instead. And just go on with something. What was that riff I was playing, which I kind of was thinking of maybe introducing it to the band. I liked it seems to be in there. yeah, so what's happened there is these strings, because I had them off, I cleaned up the fretboard, I put them back on again, they've gone out of tune a little bit. Well, maybe not that much actually, maybe it's just in my head because I'm playing really badly just now. Yeah, one thing I was playing there, I forgot, these are the original tuners on it, so they're kind of mad looking ones. This serial number, it's not 1980 like you would think. I think this is 78, this guitar. So instead of having the screw that goes in here, I don't know if you know this, but on tuners normally, to tighten up the tension, and you know if they're a bit the actual easy to turn or solid, there's a wee screw in the top of the head. On this one there isn't. There's like a sleeve. Don't know if you can see that. We get something to point at it with. I'll use this wee file. So in that bit there's a wee sleeve with a hole in it. So that's how you adjust the tension. You kind of rotate this collar. So these are definitely the original tuners. It's got a mad neck volute as well. You can see the 3-piece neck there. You can see it's also made of some sort of crazy wood. A very flamey veneer. Also, which I forgot to mention as well, this guitar has the prestige of being the first relic guitar you can get. This, well, I can't tell because this one's so old, but this guitar was available in antique violin finish, which this kind of looks like. You can see how this could be called antique violin. So that was like the first electric guitar you could buy that was kind of made to look old, if you know what I mean. It's either that or it's brown. So I think there was maybe 3 or 4 options for the colour of this. There was antique violin finish, black, red, and brown. So it might just be brown, but I can see this being antique violin because it kind of has that sort of look about it. I think I might treat this to new strings. I wish I could still go in. I wish I was still in with the band just now, and then I could actually go in and try and use these things. But so this is all original apart from the knobs, which I'd imagine just fell off and got lost. It's the same with the bass. So if anyone knows where you can get ARIA PE knobs or someone who's 3D printing them, I'll take 4. Assuming they're not £20 each, I'll take 4 of them. Because I'm not, to be honest, I'm not sure if you look them up, you'll see them and they're kind of funny looking. I'm not sure I like the look of them, but it'd be nice to have the original ones anyway. So I'll go on to the other 2 guitars I want to talk about tomorrow, because I'm already at 25 minutes and I want this to be uploaded tonight. So ultimately, awesome guitar. Not the same as the Westbury Standard, but you can see why I was thinking that. A similar sort of look from a distance, and the same factory, so a similar sort of quality. But this is this is like the one with all the innovations on it, all the things that either did catch on or didn't catch on. So things that are expensive to put in now, you know, like with the fact it's got a carved top and it's got an original design bridge and original design tuners and this crazy neck join, which as I was playing there, you can get right up to the top. Absolutely unfettered access to, you know, halfway up the pickup if you really wanted to. These pickups are rocking. No idea what they are. They will be the original one. I've got a funny feeling they might be called Protomatic or something like that. ARIA had a thing where they actually named their pickups really cool. Or is that, well, that was Westtone. There's one of my Westtone Concord has pickups called the Hammer. And it's like, yes, call things like that. Don't call it a P90. Well, you know, it's like a catalogue number. Give it a name that's whoa. You know, it's like, I think Protomatic 4 or something like that they might be called. The 4 probably indicates what kind of magnet it is. That'll be a Nico 4 maybe, or a Protomatic 5 or whatever these are. But definitely in the DiMarzio Super Distortion category, sound wise, I think, for me anyway, and look wise, seen as a cream. Sounds like an expensive guitar. One of those ones that you get, like, I always feel you get 2 types of pickup. Well, you get more than 2 types, but you get sort of guitars that are really, really forgiving, and then you get guitars that aren't really forgiving. This is of the not really that forgiving, so you were hearing an awful lot more. The mistakes I was making were louder playing this than they are playing some other guitars. The one I always look at as being the opposite of this type of thing is I've got an Arbiter Flying V, which has a Gibson Dirty Fingers pickup in it, and on that pickup you can play any note and it always sounds alright. The other side of that is if you play this really, really well, it sounds amazingly amazing. Whereas if you play the Dirty Fingers really, really well, it kind of sounds the same as if you just play it quite well. You know, you don't have the same dynamic range in it and stuff like this. Whereas this is very much a. But I mean, you can hear it there. It's definitely got more of a Fendery sound to it. It sounds quite good clean, which humbuckers tend not to sound quite good clean. That sounds fantastic. And actually I'm noticing that one of the advantages of this bridge is it's incredibly comfy to sit your hand on. It sits on it really nicely. Oh, and one thing as well, just before I go, when I was saying it was similar to the Westbury Standard I had yesterday, it's got the same fret markings. They're big dots. So I think whatever was making when they were making the Westbury one, although not very much else of the guitar is the same, they got the fret dots out of the same box, I think, because they're uncommonly big for a guitar. I'm pretty sure I've seen Andy Summers out of the Police on one of his album covers. Is it on the back of the Greatest Hits? It's on. I've got the record. Oh, I can't remember which one it is. There's one of the records has got like it's like a collage of photos all stuck together on the back of the cover, and one of them he's holding it like this, and you can see it's the ARIA Pro. I think he's probably got the more expensive 1500 one, but although I think he might have been a little bit of a gear slut. I think he was one of those people that people would give him a guitar. You can have this guitar if you use it on Top of the Pops sort of thing. So he did. So I mean, there's a Top of the Pops of him playing and he's using a Washburn Falcon. I mean, he quite famously uses a Telecaster, but or he's got like a special Telecaster that's he got in the 60s back when you couldn't really get them, with a humbucker in it. But I think he was always up for, you know, getting the contact from ARIA or Washburn or whatever and saying, here, do you want to use this? You know, we'll give you this guitar free. I don't think back in those days it's the same as like an endorsement deal is now, where it's like, you know, Slash probably gets X £1,000 a year for being a Gibson and Dorsey, well, his own signature model. Whereas back then I think it was a kind of you can have this guitar if you want to, if you use it on TV or on this tour or on the back of a record cover or something like that. But to be fair to that, also he's not going to go on and play a guitar that's rubbish. He's only going to play something that's good, and there's not anyone in the world who's going to play a guitar like this and not go, oh yeah, they might not like it or might not want it, but there's no way you're going to play this and go, that's not a really good guitar. It is. And again, guitar like this, well, actually I now know, guitar like that this the equivalent of this now you can get from ARIA is £3,500. So that's kind of quality levels, how much you have to spend to get one better. Technically, not get one that says Gibson Les Paul on it or Fender Stratocaster. You know, we're talking actual physical, right downable, measurable qualities. Okay, so my short video turned out to be 31 minutes and 13 seconds. 15 seconds, but getting lots of nice comments recently. It's really nice. I haven't had a nasty comment for a while. Get them sometimes. Just like some guy was seemed to be obsessed with my hair for some reason. You're just like, I let him away with the first couple of comments. I was like, I sod it, banned. So if you say something nasty, I'll just ban you. Really, just like I don't get the point in going on. You see it all the time on Facebook and stuff like that. Not with me, but other people who just like, it's like I can say something really nasty here. I don't understand the thinking. Maybe it makes you feel better putting somebody else down, something like that. I don't know. You know, focus up here. I'll put my guitar up. You know, someone puts their guitar up and goes like, "This is a 1980s blah 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 guitar," and you can go like, "I think you'll find that's a 1990s guitar." Yeah, stupid. And you're just like, why? At least word it nicely. You know what I mean? Or personal message, and don't just make them look like an idiot for the sake of it. Sorry, wee bit of a rant there. As I said, I've only just up. Rock on. Catch you tomorrow when I'll have another couple of guitars I'm going to have to try and modify, and I really don't know what to do. Maybe no, I kind of know what I'm doing with that one. That one, it'll be an open question, as in what should I do with this guitar? Rock on. Catch you later.